All right, so vamos a continuar. We will continue where we left off, el Wednesday, el miércoles. So if you have el libro, por favor, if you could open up to page dos y tres. Dos y tres. If you don't have a libro, hopefully you're sitting with someone who's nice enough to share. Madison. You're like, no. You guys can get your own. Okay, so you're like, I'll share. Or no, I'm not sharing.
As long as they pay like $5 each, and I'll share.
All right.
Every day, $5, I guess.
Or iced coffee.
That sounds extortionate.
Page 2.
Huh?
Did you say page 2?
Dos y tres, 2 and 3. Okay? We did a couple of greetings and some, questions, get to know you type of stuff. So for example, Señor, aquí, ¿cómo te llamas?
Me llamo Joshua.
Joshua, mucho gusto. Señor, ¿cómo te llamas?
Me llamo Carter.
You need to say Carter. Me llamo Carter. Maybe we'll come up with a Spanish name for you, like G or here. Okay. Señorita, ¿cómo te llamas?
They have
Madison. And see, like she doesn't have to say Madison now. All
I'm
right.
not gonna go that.
You're not. Yeah. All I need to see, Santos. I'm Madison. All right. So, Madison, mucho gusto. Y señor, ¿cómo te llamas?
Me llamo Zacarías.
Zacarías. He wants to be gay. All right. So, Zacarías. Muy bien. We also did some titles. So, I addressed some of you as señorita, as señor. Nobody's claiming to be married, so I can't use señora. All right. In addition, we also went with, several buenos dias, buenas noches, and whatnot. Okay. Remember the differences between tú and usted, because it'll still come in handy today with the next set of questions and greetings. Okay. You ask them their name. You know where they're from. Okay. Now this would apply to anyone, I suppose. Gotta get all the punctuation. Clase, please repeat. ¿Cómo estás?
¿Cómo estás?
Okay. ¿Cómo estás just means how are you? Or how you doing? Okay. Now, because it is under the tú, all right, this is how you would ask your friends. Okay. So you're meeting up with your buddies. ¿Cómo estás? All right. You're asking your mom or your brother, hey, ¿cómo estás? Okay. Each other, because remember, all y'all are peers. Okay. ¿Cómo estás? Me as an old person asking you as young people, ¿Cómo estás? Okay. Or me as your teacher asking you as my students, ¿Cómo estás? Okay. Remember that this is optional depending on the country where you're from. So, clase, por favor, please repeat. ¿Cómo está?
¿Cómo está?
¿Cómo está usted?
¿Cómo está usted?
Okay? This is in the formal. So, a complete stranger, someone you just met. Each other, I suppose, for now. Okay? Someone that you have a professional or a working relationship with. Okay? So I would ask Lauren's dad, ¿Cómo está usted? All right? You see this random old guy. Okay? Hey, old dude, ¿Cómo está? How are you? Okay? Or you actually care about your Spanish teacher. All right? Hey, Mr. Santos, ¿Cómo está usted? Okay? How are you? All right? The answer is a little complicated. We start off with estoy, which means I am. Oh, why did I do that? Around the whole thing. Okay? Now, obviously, you are going to see things that might change around depending on how you feel on a particular time of day, what you're thinking about, what you've been through, stuff like that, where you're not 100% sure. Exactly. So there's no one set answer, but I will give you 3 just standard basic ones. And I promise throughout the semester, we'll throw, actually I'm lying, I'll give you 5. And then as the semester goes on, we'll add more to it. Okay? So first off, let me erase this. Okay? If you're having a good day, estoy bien. Okay? I'm fine. All right? Day's good. Estoy bien. I'm all right. Okay? If you are having a bad day, a crappy day, a shitty day, okay? There, I threw in, that for you. All right? Estoy mal. All right? Just estoy mal. Okay? It's a bad day. I don't want to talk about it sometimes. Estoy mal. Okay? If your day's okay, neither good, neither bad, neither hot, neither cold, neither up, neither down. Okay? Estoy así, así. I'm so-so. Okay? Así, así. All right? Now, these are your standard, really easy ones because they don't require a whole lot of grammar and thinking about certain rules and whatnot. The next 2, okay? This one is for the gentleman, okay? If you are sick, doesn't matter what kind of illness, estoy enfermo. Like I said, this is just for the gentleman, though. Estoy enfermo. Ladies, if you are feeling sick, it's estoy enferma. All right? In Spanish, once again, I will apologize, it is a very chauvinistic language. And basically nouns and adjectives, words that describe, are separated according to gender, for the most part. Okay? And so, if you're talking about yourself and you're a guy, estoy enfermo. If you're talking about yourself and you're a girl, estoy enferma. Okay? So you have to pick a gender. Okay? I am feeling this one every day. Gentlemen, estoy cansado. I am tired. Okay? I am tired. Estoy cansado. All right? Ladies, estoy cansada. All right? I am tired. That is the feminine form of tired. All right? Estoy cansada. Preguntas, questions. If you want to learn sad, happy, melancholy, morose, whatever other adjective you can think of, don't worry, we will come across it throughout the semester, and when we do, hey, add this to your list of things that you are feeling, okay? Estoy deprimido, I am depressed, or estoy deprimida, all right? But for now, let's stick to these 5 emotions. Take un momento, partner up with someone, pretend that you care, all right? And ask them how they're doing today. En español. Shouldn't have to say that, but I am.
Estoy bien.
¿Cómo
estás?
All right. Carter, ¿cómo estás?
Dice casado.
Estoy cansado.
Oh, sí, me too. Yo también. Estoy cansado. All right. Juan, ¿cómo estás?
Estoy bien.
Bien. All right. He's good. He's doing all right. No. I am blanking. Lo siento, mi amigo. Joshua, ¿cómo estás?
Estoy así, así.
Así, así. Okay. Y mi amiga Fátima, ¿cómo estás?
Estoy cansada.
Okay, muy bien. All right. Excelente. All right. Now, if you look on page 3, página 3, okay, it divides those questions into, and these are some of the ones that we've done, into preguntas formales and preguntas informales, okay, formal and informal. And if you look at the informal ones, there are several ones that are kind of informal that you basically only, I don't want to say only, but that you basically use with friends, with close friends or people your age. You know, you may or may not say it like to your parents or, you know, type of thing. But you would say it with people that are your own age and that you're particularly close to. I never use this one. I've heard it, but I've never used it. And that is KI. Literally, it means what is there, which to me makes no sense. But, okay, some people are like, hey, KI. All right, KI. Okay. Here's one I do use on occasion. ¿Qué tal? ¿Qué tal just means what's up. Like, what's up? So, you know, I can ask Fatima, hey, ¿qué tal, Fatima? And she's like, estoy bien. Yeah, I'm fine. Okay? Or, you know, ¿qué tal, Kyle? Oh, estoy cansado. I'm tired. All right? So, whatever. Okay? ¿Qué tal? All right? Now, there is one that I use that is uniquely Mexican. And I've used it with students, unfortunately, one time. And the student was like, Santos, you never taught us that. And I'm like, oh, you're right, I didn't. And so I say ¿qué pasa? A lot. Okay? So if I see you around campus and I'm like, hey, Juan, ¿qué pasa? That just means what's up, what's going on. Okay? ¿Qué pasa? Now, some people are like, but Santos, like my friend, says ¿qué pasó? All right? Yeah, that's actually Puerto Rican / Dominican. And the difference is, mine's in the present tense, ¿qué pasó is in the past tense. But it means the same thing, like, you know, what's up.
So, well, wouldn't that be like what's been up?
Yeah, or what happened. Like, I would say ¿qué pasó if, like, you know, you just watch someone collapse in the quad, and I'm like, dude, Josh, ¿qué pasó? Like, what happened? All right? But for Puerto Ricans and Dominicans, hey, you know, Madison, ¿qué pasó? Like, you know, hey, what's up? You know, she's like, oh, estoy bien. Or estoy enferma, you know, type of thing. All right?
Wait, which one is K-pop again?
What's up?
Oh, they all just mean, I missed that.
Yeah. What's up, what's up, what's up? Okay. That's why I said it's not standard, you know, it's more very, very casual. All right. So with your friends, with people you're close to, I just use ¿qué pasa? Because I'm weird that way, I suppose. All right. They have another one there, ¿Cómo te va? I've heard that one in South America, like, you know, but I've never used it, like, at all. But if you want to go ahead and learn it and use it, ¿Cómo te va? Literally, how's it going with you? To me, it seemed too many words, all right? So ¿Cómo te va? Okay? If you go back, por favor, to page 2, okay? When you meet people, all right, typically, when someone gives you their name, okay, it is typically polite to say mucho gusto. Mucho gusto just means it's nice to meet you, okay? So, you know, Zachary here says, me llamo Zacarias. Oh, mucho gusto, okay? Nice to meet you, okay? Just common courtesy, all right? Now, this is the one that I use pretty much all the time. Your textbook also gives you gentlemen. You would say encantado. Ladies, you would say encantada. That literally just means enchanted. Kind of like the French would say enchanté, you know, nice to meet you. I mean, it just means nice to meet you. The reason why I tell students, you don't have to worry about gender. Mucho gusto is for everyone. Guys, you can only answer encantado. Ladies, you can only answer encantada. Okay? Otherwise, mucho gusto, you don't have to worry about remembering grammar and gender and whatever. You can just say, oh, mucho gusto. Okay? Me llamo Zacarias. Mucho gusto. Okay? Me llamo Carter. Oh, mucho gusto. Okay? But if you wanted to say, oh, Carter, encantado. Okay? Enchanted. All right? Or literally just, it's nice to meet you. Okay? Muy bien. Then turn the page, por favor, and look at page 4, page 4. Okay? There's one more little thing there on the side where it says nota lingüística. Because Spanish in certain areas, all right? Specifically in South America, Argentina, Peru, Uruguay, because those areas, just like the United States, had a lot, and I mean a lot, of Italian immigration, there is a word in Spanish, okay? We spell it differently. Does anyone know what ciao means? Goodbye, yeah. And so in places like Argentina and Peru and Uruguay, people will not say adios. People will not say hasta luego. People will not say, they'll just say, okay, ciao. You know, and once again, I was 19, first time I encountered that in South America, I was just like, did I go to Italy? Why are people saying ciao to me? Or what, is there food? Like, ciao? No, people are like, no, it's adios. We don't say adios, decimos ciao. I'm like, yeah, but why? It took me a while to understand that. And I'll explain this when we talk more about culture. A lot of Italians went to Argentina and that part of South America in the 1800s. And then again, immediately after World War II. Okay, for obvious reasons, them and the Germans. Okay, so you do get a lot of Italian words, and every now and then a smattering of German in Spanish. Okay, down there. Okay, so ciao is also acceptable. All right. Now, what I'd like you to do is in your Libro, if you look at exercise P-1. Okay, and obviously some of you are going to have to buddy up, which is perfect. Okay. P-1, on the left-hand side, you have a situation. ¿Qué dices? What do you say, though? On the right-hand side, you have several responses. Okay? So, for example, you're introduced to Señora Fuertes. That's number 1. Okay? Okay, so Señora Fuertes means she's older and probably married, and someone just introduced me to her. So what do you say? And so you look down the answers, A, B, C, D, E, J. Okay? Oh, okay. Mucho gusto, señora. It's nice to meet you, ma'am. Okay? Numero dos, you're asking a child where he or she is from. Okay, so it's a child, so they're younger than me, which means I can address them in the informal. Even though I'm not related to them, or all the other things, they are younger. I'm asking them where they're from. Oh, that's B. De donde eres? Where are you from? Okay. Take a few momentos then. Look at numbers 3 through 9, and basically you're matching. You're not going to use all of the answers, or there's more answers than there is situations. But match them up, letters to numbers, okay? Yeah, okay? What is your response? ¿Qué dices? It's on her computer. Yeah, I know. That's scary for me too. I need paper.
Everybody takes a picture of
Madison, that's unreasonable. $1.
you don't think about, like, you want to have out something, you want to gain process, like,
Yeah.
Reading the was asking him how do I, he would say, Buenos dias.
I'm sure we close to this. I see a child with issues. Big.
Yeah, so,
I don't think you'll like it. There's a lot of sugar. For like 9 packets.
Okay, I like my coffee sweet, but even for me, that's too much.
Is it weird that I drink my tea black? No.
I typically don't add anything to my tea. Coffee, I need cream and sugar, but not that much. Like I don't even like when people order like caramel lattes or vanilla latte. Like I'll order one, but I'll be like, can you just do like one quick drizzle, like just a little bit. Like I don't want a lot.
Can we do that for class one day?
Yeah, you can drink caramel
No,
coffee.
that you bring stuff.
Oh.
yeah, oh, yeah, we could.
We could actually.
If you don't though,
Yeah, if you don't, then.
no, see, that's what I'm saying.
No, wait, no, it's not.
I think
Wait, no, that is, you're saying good. Oh, no, it's not.
You know, honestly, they will receive you.
Maybe B.
right now.
I'm a child right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, different
Right now.
wisdom and experience.
I know, that's slower, so I should
You're
freeze
saying
talk.
invite a friend on vacation.
Adios.
Yeah.
Adios.
No, like usted, like almost stop usted.
How she's doing.
But then once she's involved, it's like, I hate to.
How about the stop? You're saying hello to a friend.
For night? Buenos tardes.
If you said anything to in the morning, if it would make any sense,
Yeah.
but it'd probably be, day. I'm just not just thinking.
I'm younger, so
Okay, clase, then if you're not done, we'll do this together, okay? Numero tres. You're on your way to class and you see a stranger. It's 8 a.m., so how do you greet a stranger on the way to class? We'll start con mi amigo Zacarias.
I said buenos dias.
Buenos dias is fine, perfect. And if you forget buenos dias, what's your default word from Dora the Explorer? Hola, yes, hola. Hola is always acceptable too. All right, numero cuatro, you're saying goodbye to your friend who's going on vacation. Lauren, por favor. You're just saying goodbye. Just adios, yeah, adios. Okay, yeah, you're like adios. All right, just saying goodbye.
Yeah, I will.
Who was right?
Us too. Yeah.
What did you say, Madisona?
I said child, because I thought that child's more like.
Yeah, you can do chow too. No, that's right too. It's,
So I guess we're both right.
No.
it's like, is it an elevator or is it a lift? Okay, you're both right. All right, you're like it's an elevator. So yeah. Okay. It's funny because I took my kids to England like a couple of years ago, and so when we got back, I was like calling it a lift, and I was calling like using British words, and my son was just like, "Dad, we're not in England anymore."
I called my friends and I getting stuck in an elevator. Like right at they almost had to jump halfway through it. And they got stuck. I was like, do you think some of us should take the stairs? I don't think 10 of us should take this elevator. And they're like, no, we're fine. Get
All
all the
right,
way to the
do
second
that in
floor.
the Payne Hall elevators because those are always breaking down.
They get all the way to the second floor. Two of them look at each other, then jump. Here we are, sliding the elevator.
Okay, chicos. Numero cinco. You're asking your mom's friend how she's doing. So she's a friend, but she's your mom's friend. So it means she's older. Fatima.
¿Cómo estás usted?
¿Cómo está usted? Muy bien. Okay, show a little respect to your mom's friend. All right. Número 6, you're saying hello to a friend, Carter.
Hola.
Yeah, just hola. Okay? Or, yeah, that's basically it. Número 7, oh, we know Paco's been in this situation many times. You're leaving a party at your friend's house at 2 in the morning. That's kind of early, but still, all right? What do you say to your friend?
Where's the door?
Ciao.
Ciao, adios, buenas noches, donde está la puerta? All right? I say early because if you've ever been to a Hispanic party, we're still going at 7 a.m., all right? So 2 a.m. is early. Why not?
You should be getting up at 7 a.m. to go to work.
Oh, no, you show up to work, you just...
You show up, just work a little bit.
A little bit of Gatorade, 2 aspirin, and you're good to go. All
Show up to work
right?
and still drunk a little bit.
Numero 8. You're asking an old man what his name is. Jonathan. No, you don't say what's up to the old man. Old man in the park. What's his name?
H. ¿Cómo se llama usted?
Perfect. Okay. And then you can say what's up. All right. And then numero 9, you're walking to a class and you see your TA. I don't know if there's TAs here on campus, but if there were, Madison, what would you say to your TA? It's in the afternoon. Perfect. I should have switched questions because she knew the answer for yours and you knew the answer for hers. So buenas tardes. Okay, muy bien. Skip over to the next page then. Go to page 5. And if you go to the top on the right-hand side, okay, they give you a couple of phrases when you need to be polite and apologize for certain things. So, for example, the first one, con permiso. Con permiso is typically used when numero 1, you want to ask someone's permission to do something. But also numero 2, if you are interrupting or like if you have to get by someone in a crowded room, you would say con permiso. Okay, con permiso. All right. The next one, disculpe. Disculpe is used to ask for forgiveness. Okay, so you messed up, you spilled coffee on them, you whatever. Okay, disculpe. All right. Another way of saying it is perdón. Okay, perdón is also used to apologize for a mistake that you've made or for some kind of accident. All right. Now, I very rarely use disculpe or perdón, not because I don't apologize, I do, but that's not what I was taught to say, and so you will hear me say this a lot. It's funny because in my class yesterday, there was one student that's like, yeah, I've heard you say it like at least half a dozen times already. Lo siento. Okay, that's what they say in Mexico, all right? And so obviously that's what I grew up saying, and that's what I always say, okay? And of course, funny story, when I did move to South America, in Argentina, everybody says perdón. And so here I was going with my lo siento. And so after a while, some people were like, hey, Santos, apologize. And I'm like, why? Lo siento? And, then there would be like giggles everywhere. You say lo siento. And I'm just like, I don't know what's funny about that, but okay. So after that, peer pressure, I would say perdón. When I came back to the U.S. and Mexico and stuff, and I was like, okay, lo siento.
Say that was sorry.
Hmm?
You say that was sorry.
Yeah, just sorry. All of those mean I'm sorry, like pardon me, excuse me. Just used to apologize, okay? And then the last one they have there is por favor. Por favor is please. You should always use por favor. I'm sure you learned that lesson in kindergarten. Please, and does anyone know what thank you is in Espanol? Gracias, okay? So yeah, gracias, all right? So por favor y gracias. Please and thank you, okay? All right. P-6, por favor. Okay. You have 3 situations. All right. All I want is some of the things that could be said. All right. So there is no. I mean, there probably are some wrong answers, but there will be several right answers. So if you look at numero uno, you have Jose and Ricardo. They are two old friends, and they just happen to run into each other on the street at 8 p.m. Okay? So since they're old, but they're friends, and it's in the evening, okay? And even the picture kind of gives you a hint. They're both using tú with each other. So you know their interchange will be in the familiar, because they're friends, okay? If you look at numero dos, okay? 9 a.m., so it's in the morning. Professor Sanchez is talking to a new colleague, Doctora Matos, Dr. Matos. She was just hired. They just met, okay? And it's 9 in the morning. So it gives you a hint that because they're strangers to each other and they're professional colleagues, they will be using usted with each other. So what are some of the things they would say to each other, okay? And then finally, numero tres, Mrs. Calderon, it's 2 p.m., so 2 in the afternoon. Mrs. Calderon sees a young kid that she knows from the neighborhood, but he's brand new to the area, okay? Because he is a child, she addresses him as tú. Because she is old, he addresses her as usted. So what are some of the things that they say to each other? Because they don't know each other, okay? But they know they live in the same neighborhood, all right? So come up with like maybe 2 or 3, for each, and then I'll ask you to share, okay? If you want to work together, those of you that, are lacking for a book, feel free, okay? You can share. Yeah, that's probably better, Carter. Good old Cartel.
So, good evening, how are you? And that's just the informal. And then, you want to do that one?
Yeah.
Como se llama? Como se llama? But depending on where you are, you may have to use como se llama.
Yeah.
At least say that.
Yes.
Como se llama? Questions, so you could say, buenos tardes. Como, you could say, como se llama again, but it sounds like you already know what her name is. So you could say, como se llama, you could say,
Yeah. Probably.
como está, como está.
Oh no. Being asked for names.
Como está.
So. Almost
Does every conversation in Spanish start with either días, tardes, or noches?
Buenas tardes or buenos dias.
I'm just saying, 'cause that's how we seem to be forming these conversations. is that-
This is
I
yeah.
think we got, that was just kind of to plug in the phrase, the right phrase, or the right question, like, asking them how they are, or where they're from, or what they're doing.
I'll come up to you and say,
I hardly answer, I know it goes well. I'm trying to flip through.
No, so just unless.
Why am I trying to flip it that way? I know, like, I know those ones, so we can come up with something.
most animals.
Senior Santos?
Yeah.
¿Qué pasa?
How long will it take us to work through chapter one?
This chapter, you mean?
Yeah,
I don't know, maybe another week.
just curious. It seems like there's a lot of pages left.
No, there's not. Oh, then just wait till the next chapter. So.
Yeah. Oh, first started this morning.
All right, so
Oh, this afternoon.
Ramon and Ricardo, the two old friends. One or two things that they would say to each other. Okay, we'll start with mi amigo Paco.
Alright, I feel like you're gonna walk up to each other and they're gonna be like, hey, ¿qué paso, gringo?
Okay, well, they're not gringos, but we'll go with que paso. All right, they would definitely say that. All right, que paso. Kyle, anything else?
¿Cómo estás?
¿Cómo estás? Sí, okay. That's actually pretty good, Jeter. They would be like, hey, ¿qué pasó? They might say, ¿qué pasó, viejo? Like, what's going on, old man? Like, you know, jokingly. But yeah, all right, so ¿qué pasó? Número dos, Professor Sanchez and Dr. Matos. Fatima, what's one thing they might say to each other? Is it not? Yeah, 9 a.m. Sí, buenos días. Okay, so good morning, buenos días. Okay. Sí?
Take out their step.
Ah, ¿de dónde es usted? Where are you from? Yes, because they're brand new. She just started working there, so where are you from? Isaac, maybe one more thing?
¿Cómo se llama?
Oh,
usted?
yeah, I mean, it's not wearing a name tag, so ¿cómo se llama usted? Muy bien. Okay. Finally, número tres, 2 p.m., you have an older lady in the neighborhood and a younger kid in the neighborhood. And because they are going to be neighbors, all right, Carter, what's one thing they might say to each other?
The little kid would say, ¿Cómo se llama usted? To the old lady.
Muy bien. ¿Cómo se llama usted, old lady? He'd probably say señora. But yes, muy bien. What's something else that they might say to each other?
The old lady would say, Buenas tardes, ¿cómo te llamas?
Ah, buenas tardes, ¿cómo te llamas? Good afternoon, little boy. What is your name? Okay? Muy bien, perfecto. All right? We'll finish off today. If you skip over to page 8 and 9, por favor. Because remember, one of the things that we are also learning aquí is la cultura, a little bit about culture. All right, that's why I wore my Mexico shirt. Quetzalcoatl, he's the Aztec flying feathered serpent god. So yeah, and people ask me, so what do you believe in, Santos? Cats, all right? Yes, the flying serpent, all right? But when it comes to Spanish, when it comes to Espanol, all right? And I know I've said this before already, 21 different countries use Spanish as an official language, okay? All throughout Latin America, all right? There is one country in Europe where it all started, Spain. And of course, there's even one country in Western Africa that has Spanish as an official language. In addition, there are a lot of other countries, like the United States, where Spanish is not an official language, but there's like literally 75 million people that speak it. All right, so there's quite a substantial population. I know places like Canada are also seeing an increase in Spanish speakers, and even places like the Philippines have quite a bit of Spanish speakers, because once upon a time the Philippines were part of Spain. All right, so you do see, 21 official and several others that are unofficial, where you see Spanish. Worldwide, there are about 500 million people who are native speakers of Spanish. It is the second most spoken language in the world. Any ideas what number one is? Mandarin Chinese, yeah, they've got like over 1 billion. So I often kid, yeah, every Spanish speaker has to have like 30 kids right now, and maybe we'll catch up to the Chinese, but But don't worry, English is number 3, you know, with like 400 million.
What's number 4?
I don't know. I didn't memorize that far. I don't know, probably French. But English is number 3. Okay. So yeah. Okay. Espanol, you know, it is pretty important. Okay. Now, just because we're learning Espanol and just because I have a certain way of teaching and whatnot, that's not to say, because as I've mentioned, you know, there are other influences on the Spanish language. And so, you know, what you might hear or understand from me might be a little bit different from what you hear or understand from other Spanish speakers. One of the things that I already mentioned, the word ciao, okay? In some parts of the Spanish-speaking world, we use that to say goodbye. And that's the influence of Italian, okay, on Spanish. Most recently, we do see a big influence from the English language, okay? It's hard not to. One prime example is in Espanol, most sports terminology, about 90% of it is English with just a little bit of Spanish mixed in, or like a Spanish flair. So, for example, I really like el béisbol. What is baseball in English? Yeah, baseball. No me gusta el basketball. What's basketball?
Gotta be soccer.
Yeah, basketball, okay? So, you know, you can actually do that with a lot of the sports. Well, soccer is football, okay? What is like the Bills and the Giants and the Patriots?
Sports.
Yeah, no, but what kind of football is that in Espanol?
American football? It's like, yes.
Yes.
Let's say American.
Football Americano, there you go. I mean, you said it right in English, but gracias. He got it in Spanish. They call it football americano, all right? American football versus football, like the real football, all right, which we would call soccer, all right? So there are some slight differences, but true story, I once had a student ask me, like, so how do I say lacrosse? And I'm like, I will literally give you one guess. And they're like, no, not O, it's like lacrosse. I'm like, yeah, lacrosse. All right, so that's the sport, okay? In addition, because Spanish obviously is used throughout Latin America, and the Spanish came in and invaded those places, a lot of the native languages have made their way into Espanol. Okay? For example, some of you who have taken Spanish before, does anyone know the word for turkey? No? Some people already do. I just asked because some people are like, oh yeah, it's pavo. Okay? And pavo is the word for turkey pretty much everywhere. But in Mexico, they call it a guajolote. Because that's the Aztec word. That's the Nahua word. And when you ask someone from Mexico, hey, what's turkey in Spanish? They'll be like guajolote. And then you'll go to your Dominican friend, oh yeah, I want some guajolote. And they're like, what the did you just say? And they're like, that's what Santos told me that was turkey. And they're like, no, turkey is pavo. So in a lot of areas, you do see like native languages influencing Spanish. Okay? Now, the other 2 pages that are there, and like I said, you know, this is more cultural than anything. Number 1, it talks about Spain. It talks about España. It talks about España because that's where everything started. Okay? Now, FYI, I'm actually not teaching you Spanish.
They lied to us.
What class am I in?
I'm teaching you Castilian. In Spain, they actually speak several languages that can be considered Spanish. The second most spoken language in Spain is Catalan, which when you hear it, it sounds a lot like Spanish, but there's differences in pronunciation in certain words. The third largest is Galician, which sounds more like Portuguese to me. And then there's a language called Basque, which is also, now there used to be dozens of more, but over time, Castilian became the dominant one, And that was the language of the people that went to America and conquered, like, all of South America. Why do we call it Spanish? Well, what country does it come from? Spain, or in Espanol, España. So that's why we call it Espanol or Spanish, but it's actually Castilian, all right? Now, there are still people who speak Catalan, and there are still people who speak Basque in Spain, not as many as there used to be, okay? In addition to that, between 711 and 1492, Spain was conquered by a group of Arabic speakers known as the Moors. And so for 700 years, Arabic speakers and Spanish speakers lived side by side. And so there's a lot of Castilian words, or Spanish words, that actually are Arabic in origin, okay? So even before it went out into the world, España already had weird influences. The next thing that it talks about is Mexico. Yay, Mexico, all right? It is the largest Spanish-speaking country in the world, okay? That is where you'll find the most Spanish speakers. Fun fact, if the United States was a Spanish-speaking country, it'd be the second largest. All right, there are more Spanish speakers in the US than there are in like Colombia or Venezuela or Spain or any of those countries, okay? And in Mexico, as I mentioned, a lot of native words kind of went into the vocabulary as well. And so some of them are words that are unique to Mexico, and then some of them are words that have kind of spread out into other languages and whatnot, okay? The last two areas, it talks about the Caribbean and Central America. In those areas, you see a huge African influence because when people were kidnapped out of Africa and brought over as slaves, 95% of them actually ended up in South America. And like one of the first places they would stop would be Cuba. And then from Cuba, they would spread out to other areas. And so in addition to a Spanish influence, you also see an African influence. And so there's like a lot of words that sometimes my Dominican friends say, and I'm like, I have no clue what that word is. And the same way when I say guajolote, they're like, yeah, Santos, you just said and I'm like, well, you said bacalao, and it's the different influence, the native influence versus African influence. Finally, in South America, in Sudamerica, number one, because it is at the bottom of the world, everything is inverted. And no, I don't mean like people and stuff like that, but right now, it's like the end of summer. Guess what season it is down there? Yeah, it's winter's ending. So I have friends still in South America, and they're like, oh my gosh, it's finally starting to get warmer. And I'm like, really? Because it's starting to get colder here. Oh yeah, that's right. Opposite seasons, okay? If you've never celebrated Christmas in 100-degree heat, you just have not enjoyed life, all right? You drink cold apple cider, and Santa comes in shorts and a tank top, and like all that fun stuff. It's kind of interesting the way the traditions change because of the weather. I mean, our Christmas tree was usually just like sticks with like decorations on it, because actual green trees would die in the heat. It was like just really hot. As I said, many of the areas were settled by Italians and German people. And so in a lot of those areas, you do see that influence. I remember one of my good friends in South America, I've since lost touch with them. His name was Pablo when he introduced himself, but he was like tall, blonde-haired, blue-eyed. And I was just like, Pablo, really? He's like, yeah, Pablo Kloster. And I'm like, Kloster? He's like, yes, my grandfather came over after World War II. We're pretty sure he was a Nazi. And so like he said all this to me in Spanish, and I'm like, oh, okay, Pablo, mucho gusto. Yeah, you seem like a cool guy. He's like, don't worry. He did, no soy Nazi. He's like, no soy. I'm like, I'm not a Nazi. I'm like, okay, bueno. All right. But yes, you do have a lot of old Italian and Germans that went to South America, so you see that influence. All right. So just a little bit of culture. All right. We'll stop right here. Before I dismiss you, though, do not come on Monday. There is no class on Monday. There is always at least one of you that shows up and said, Santos, I sat there for 20 minutes and nobody came. Yeah,
Because it's a national
no. It's a holiday. The whole campus will be closed.
work.
All right? So, chicos, hasta el miércoles. I'll see you Wednesday.